name is Leo, and welcome to another reading of the Elder Scrolls. Today we're going to be reading Tales of Kieran by... the guy's name is... Velocious Editor. Good enough. Librarian's note. The recorded tales of Kieran the Bard fall into three categories. The Woodland Cycle, Castles and Kings, and an unnamed cycle of lusty tales recently destroyed by mysterious accident. Some are in the bard's own hand, while others, mere shadows of the originals, remain only as bedtime tales for children. The structure exemplifies the you can do it. Helical form favored by listeners about the hearth on a long winter's eve. As to whether they describe real events be allegory or be mere entertaining fancy, the reader must decide. Part 1, which I guess is called Woodland Cycle? And how many parts are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Fuck, this is a long book. Yeah, well, guess what? I've been fucking doing the short books all this time and leaving the long books for later because of sore throats and not enough time to record. And now I'm at the point where, well, gotta do these long books now. I still have kind of a sore throat and I don't have an awful lot of time to record, but, well, gotta do it. Before I do start, actually, just a quick update. I've managed to get Battlespire working. Holy shit, that game is hard to get working. It crashes all the time, and it's hard to, like, function. But I think we are ready to actually play the game, which we'll probably do starting next week. Yeah, Monday next week. Because we only got 4 books left, right? And so we got today, we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, and then we'll start Battlespire on Monday next week. If everything goes according to plan, that is. Yes, indeed. And they're only going to be 15-minute episodes, I'm telling you that right now. It's not a day-by-day playthrough, because it doesn't have a day cycle. I'm very appreciative of that, because I can just go 15 minutes and then stop. I don't have to keep going for 3 fucking hours or whatever. Anyway. Kieran was on the road from Wren to Fairtree when he grew weary of the midday sun. His boots were tight, and he thought to remove them for a bit in the shade of a nearby oak. Oaks being a favorite of Bard's. Why is that? Why oak? Why? Who knows? This particular oak was venerable and gnarled, with sturdy branches that dipped and swooped, nearly touching the ground in spots. From its shade, Kieran watched the forest creatures playing in the warm sun. But for the rustling of leaves high above, the only sounds were of butterfly wings and bird song. What a peaceful day, Kieran thought, as he watched a butterfly drift by. What a beautiful day! In truth, since birds first saw nails, has there ever been a day more peaceful and beautiful than this? Are you sure you want to commit to that voice? Yeah, sure, why not? My voice is already fucked up, I might as well just go the whole 9 yards. He drank from his water skin, and taking his lute from his sack, cleared his throat, and began to sing. Sure. Oh, the maidens of Wren are passing fair, with breasts like melons and flaxen hair. Melon breasts. That's what I like to hear. Wait, is she still singing? Nope. He had just taken a deep breath to bellow the lusty chorus when a small feminine voice said, "Kind sir." Wait, sorry, I think you've got your voices mixed up there. Yeah, let me try this. Kind sir. He leapt to his stockinged feet, his face flaming red. "Who's there?" he cried. The small voice repeated, "Please, sir, if you would be so kind." Kieran looked about, but saw no person or creature addressing him. "Pray thee," he cried, "show thyself, or have cause to fear my dagger." He tried desperately to remember where he had last seen it. "Wherever thee me," one more time. "Whether thee be friend or foe, pray thee show thyself now." The small voice replied from above him, "Kind sir, thou hast no cause to fear me. I am in need of help. Can thou find it in thy heart to aid me?" He looked up and saw naught but a small robin's nest, 3 branches above him. Climbing swiftly, he found a robin with 3 tiny robinlings, their mouths wide open. "Good Mother Robin," he asked, "can it be thee who addresses me thus?" "Kind sir," and Leah was terrified. What had happened? Well, she had seen enough of Loziard's magic to know what had happened. But why? Why would he do this to her? She didn't have long to ponder the question. A huge black hound, hundreds of times her size, ran to the cobblestone where she lay and almost gobbled her with one slurp of his tongue. From somewhere she found the wherewithal to roll out of its way and into the crevice between the stones. His huge slurpy tongue followed her, drooling and panting, great hurricanes of hot, awful breath down on her. But just as the tongue was about to lick her into the waiting stomach, the hound's owner yanked his massive chain and pulled the beast towards home. It is true that Enlia, in her life as a human, was self-indulgent and not inclined to effort or resource, but that was merely because she had no need of either. In the following days, she had cause to discover plenty of both within her. After the incident with the hound, she knew she must go far away from people and dogs, and she knew what kinds of creatures dined on grubs too. She slept out of sight under leaves in places where grubs would not likely be sought. Even so, Enlia's days were filled with terror and adventure. There were circling hawks by day and owls by night. A bear tearing at a rotting tree trunk. Why would a bear eat grubs? Do bears eat grubs? Gobbled grubs, indistinguishable from Elena, by the hundreds as she watched in horror behind a nearby rock. The smallest stream was now an enormous, gushing torrent, to be crossed in a nutshell under the greatest of peril. Enlia passed these tests among with many others. Yeah, sure, okay, and she passed them well. It was on her 10th day. It was on her 10th such day that a clumsy boot kicked aside the piece of bark under which she had sought shelter from the sun. Blinded by the sudden light, she heard an exclamation from high above. Then, before she could react, two fingers dropped from the sky and plucked her up and deposited her firmly inside a huge fist. 10 days ago, Enlia would have been paralyzed with terror, but that was 10 days ago. Her mind raced. Who is this clumsy idiot anyway? She thought. And what on earth does he want with a tree grub? At least he didn't squash me on the spot. That's encouraging, isn't it? So, he must be here to rescue me. She wriggled and squirmed in his fist until she could see his face, high above between two of his fingers. Ah! I'm mad. If I'm going to be rescued, why can't it be by a fine young prince? But then it occurred to her that she was speaking... Oh, hang on, I'll look this up. But then it had... But then occurred to her that she had been speaking from old habit. I wonder how many of those foppish boys could have survived these past 10 days. She laughed. Where am I? Yes, thinking of them. Not many, I bet. Those who wouldn't have curled up and died immediately would by now be whimpering and crying for their mothers. She looked at Kieran again. Well, maybe he would look better if I wasn't looking straight up his nostrils. Ouch! Why isn't he more careful with me? And then it occurred to Alina that if this oaf were truly rescuing her, he probably would have said something to her. Uh-oh! Enlia's heart raced as she started wiggling furiously, imagining the worst of all possible deaths. He must be going fishing. Oh, that's a pretty bad way to go, yeah. Enlia couldn't do much in her current state, but she could spit, and spit she did, in quantities unimaginable for such a small grub, for so small a grub. She spit and spit, and should it be spat? Yeah, she spat and spat and spat, until her tiny grub mouth was so dry to spit another drop. Wow, she's a fucking dirty girl. She felt Carrion's hand squirming and thought, it's working. Alright, next we got part 4. Carrion was fair disgusted. It was bad enough that he had to touch the slimy thing, but now it was oozing something and becoming truly revolting. Finally, just before he reached the robin's oak, he could take it no longer. He stopped and examined the creature in his hand, white and plump and glistening. It was, in truth, a repellent creature. Yet the poor thing was obviously terrified. It gazed up at him with what he imagined to be minuscule grub eyes, pleading. Carrion thought of the caterpillar and the earthworm, and his heart gave in. Having a great resigned sigh, he found a nice clean root and placed the grub upon it. And thus was Loziard's spell broken. None could have been more astonished than Enlia when she unexpectedly grew to her former size. Except perhaps for Carrion, who nearly died of fright. Wait, is she naked right now? He was no more than catching his breath when Enlia regained her wits, raising her index finger, warning Carrion not to say even one word. Enlia snatched Carrion's coat to cover herself. Oh, she was naked. Hell yeah, baby. Then, with fire in her eyes, and as much dignity as she could muster, she was off to Drawbridge, leaving Carrion to stare open-mouthed at her departing figure. Enlia knew she could not simply enter the city and confront Loziard. The moment he saw her, he would but cast another enchantment upon her. So, disguising herself as a shepherd, she found an abandoned house on the moors and began to make her plans. What happened next is a tale worth hearing, but it is a tale for another evening. Fuck you! Indeed, it is a tale to be told over many an evening and many a good pot of ale. How about you tell me what happened? And what of the baby robins? Oh yeah, what about them? Having no alternative, Carrion climbed the tree and took from his pack his last piece of fatty mutton. Wait, do birds eat food? Yeah, they eat meat. Tearing it to small shreds, he gave it to the grateful robin, who fed it to her family. Upon returning to the ground, Carrion looked first towards Fairtree, his former destination. Then, grinning, set off after the most surprising young lady, for whom he now had many questions. Who knows? He called back to the robins. It may be fate, and besides, I need my coat. He was heard Late that evening, far down the road singing, "Oh, the maidens of Trowbridge are passing fair with breasts of melons and flaxen hair." Wait, is that the end? God damn it, I wanna know what happened! Hold the fucking phone here. Where's the lusty tales? Damn it! I want that shit! Give me the sexy stuff! Come on! Fuck! So what was the song that he sang at first? He sang The Maidens of Ren. Okay. And then at last he sang The Maidens of Trowbridge. Well, okay, fair enough. That was Tales of Kieran. Why, what's this person's name again? It is... Okay, the spelling is... Why did you show him? Okay, just show him. No, info. How the fuck do you pronounce that? Vegepithecus. Editor. Alright, so we're going to be reading another book tomorrow. But it's going to be a long one, because I don't think I have any short books left. Fuck. But for now, my name is Leo, and I will see you next time.